using koha and MarcEdit to help standardize your records, and this is by the incredible international sensation Denny.
And I'm sitting. Hopefully everybody can see. And I'm using my computer phone. All right. Okay. So today's presentation is more on the how to. So please, as I'm doing something, if you have questions, interrupt me. And I will try to answer it. And if I can't, please, the rest of the room, you know the answer. Feel free to chime in. Because I do not know everything about koha. I shared yesterday a lot of the stuff that I have done, I got answers through all of the SIGs that I went to. Like, how do you do this? This doesn't make sense. So here's my cat. That's why this whole thing looks like. All right. So the first thing that I did was I had libraries send me barcode lists. Who here is not familiar with the batch item modification tool? That's an easy one. Okay, I can skip that. Or do you? Does everyone know that one? I'm like, that one they probably know. It's fairly simple. So one of the things we discovered, the XSLT, has your material type format audience. That information is pulled from the control fields. So your leader and your zero, so that the material type is pulling from the leader. No, wait, it doesn't always pull from the type of material in the 008. It tends to like the leader. So if you choose that it's A for language or text, and then M for item, even though it is a CD, that's an electronic format in E, or it's an electronic format in your 008, 6, and 7, it's going to show up as text in that little blue arrow. Oh, not the blue arrow, the green arrow. That line, if it has A, it's going to look like the one at the bottom that says text, no matter what your item type is. So we wanted to turn that off because it was very confusing. Especially when you start getting into, is this a journal or an article or a volume within a journal or a reprint? Your leaders, I'm still learning like what the correct way to catalog those items using the leader. It gets confusing, which is why I'm always like, I'm ignored it, and now I can't ignore it anymore, so I have to learn it. But so we wanted to turn that off. But before we could turn that off, I'm like, our patrons really like knowing what they like, the little icon. They want the picture. And so a lot of our leaders were wrong because they wanted the certain icon to appear. So part of this project was changing the leader, getting rid of the material type and putting the 942C to get that little icon on the side. You have to change these system preferences to don't show in order for them not to appear. So the first part I'm going through is like, these are the system preferences that we use to make this work the way we want it to work. And next one is the apply framework defaults. So in koha, you have, and it's in And then you get a list. You can create, there's a couple that are pre-loaded in there. Our thing has been, don't touch the default framework. If we want to create something new or do something interesting with it, make a copy, but don't touch the default. I don't know where I read that, and I'm scared to even like do anything with that. What that actually does is in a record, I have added the word local here. I have edited that text. So I'm audio, and this is where it gets weird. If you hit edit, that means you get to edit the name. Not, you need the MARC structure. And then you just go in here. I wanted to edit the tag to do local. For a lot of things, I kept wanting, I made these mandatory, and then I discovered actually it's really annoying and frustrating as a cataloger if too many things are mandatory because you don't know the answer and you can't, it won't let you save. Especially if you're in the advanced editor. That's where, so I started making things important so that you could still save in the advanced editor and make changes. So that's where you can change the name of the fields, which our library, we have a lot of like beginner librarians. So one of my future things is to edit this a little bit more to like normal everyday English instead of technical service librarian English. Because they are not the same. So that you can do that in the frameworks. You can also, well, let me switch to the default. So if you look in the default, there is a whole lot of fields. Not so much in that one. In the 200s. Like it's not, I can't remember which one of these. There is like a lot of field. Okay, the 600s. I'm like, we don't need all this. My audio CD, I can now limit what I see, which makes for easy aspect of logging because it doesn't have all those extra fields that I don't really need. Especially for things like, okay, this is only on a serial. Like I'm only going to use these fields for journals. So why is it in my book framework or my audio CD? So I just don't put it there. Now that does not mean. So if you look, so I don't 653 does not show up here. If you look at my framework, it is still there. So you could actually delete these. But I'm a librarian. I don't totally like deleting everything. I just like making them disappear. So oops. Edit subjects. So this is where you can make them appear or not appear. So if I click editor. And then save the changes. And load my framework. And now it's there. I can also, which is kind of handy, you know, there's things that you use a lot, but not every, like you need it available, but you don't use it all the time. Those I've collapsed. And so it's there, and now I can open it. So this is where this is come in handy is some of my frameworks, like the 100 field is open, but the 110, 111, and 130 are all collapsed. Because you need access to them, but how often do you put a meeting name for a book? Or how often do you have a uniform title in a book? Not often. So, but you need access because there are those books out there that have really weird fields, and I've told everybody, I'm like, okay, listen, just because you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. So if you don't see it and you need it, then tell me, because I do not know all the fields of MARC that you need based on item type. I know these are the most common ones, and those are the ones I'm trying to make available. And as I learn them, I add them, I make them viewable, but I collapse so that they're not having to scroll down this really, really long page. And that may be just me, and I'm just hate scrolling. This especially comes into play with the linking fields. There's certain fields that you don't want linked in. Or they're only specific to certain records. In this, so what? Okay, so one thing I also did to make it standardized is I'm using authorized values. So this list right here is an authorized value. I love that Koha has like 3 or 4 different ways that you can get to the same screen. Here it is. Okay. And I click on it. And now I have the list. And authorized values are always so confusing for me on how to, like, am I creating a new category? Am I creating a new authorized value? And I do not remember which version, but it told you new authorized value that you're creating. Because I'm still trying to figure out how do I delete the authorized value categories that I created, because I thought I was putting it in a category, not creating a new category. I thought I was creating one of these lines, and no, I was creating another category. And I've got a couple of those. I'm like, I don't know how to delete them. Can you delete them? I don't think you delete them.
There's the bug.
There's a bug. And it's not like new, right? So that is something that I've done. So like for my I talked about yesterday, these are the versions that most people would use. We've done those authorized values. One thing I've also done I used to do with authorized values while I was working on frameworks is created the 336, and I put in all the available options so that you could, because most of the time that way you didn't have to look it up. Most of the time it's pretty, this is spoken word, this is a still image, this is text. The problem is, and I don't know how to fix this one, is the codes are also authorized values, but they're really hard to know which. So a lot of the codes match, they're just abbreviations of the text above it, but not all of them. And so some of them will still have to look up the code. But that's where having and I'm working on my QA and not my website so that I can do these and not be afraid. Okay. So you saw what I ended them. And this is the power of the thing. Okay. All right. Oh, guess what? It's a system reference, and I'm gonna have to look here. Apply. I bet you I want chicken. So that is what happens if you don't. Oops. That is weird. All right, we know that's good. I may have to do that.
It's Fred's fault.
Everything works differently in front of an audience. The bigger the audience, the more likely things are going to go wrong.
All right.
And yes, it's my fault.
Should have asked to borrow your chicken.
Support.
Yeah, for support.
Support chicken.
This is weird. because it's there. It's just in case it is something else, whatever you do. I was gonna show you this. Look at it down because I want to make sure we're, I know. So I could have modified this framework and I'm asking it to do something that I have changed. So one of the wonderful, lovely things is I can import. So I exported all of my frameworks. Actually, because this is my system. So I created one, I downloaded my framework so that you can use them that don't have the authorized values, so they don't import. Because I work with some libraries that aren't in our consortium. And they would like, we will use this. So, but if you try to import a framework that is using authorized values and you do not have authorized values set up in your authorized values with the same name, it sometimes nothing works. I don't know why. So you got to make sure that like, and I also learned like early on. This is really weird. That for some of your authorized values, especially if they're international standards, make the code the same as your value. So what I mean by that is for my content fields to begin with, these were actually just I put the code here instead of the name, and then I realized, oh wait a minute, if I do that, then when I import through Z3950, it won't work because I have an authorized value that's different. So it needs to be the same. For my E56, it doesn't matter because that's a local thing to us. You know what? Let's try doing a different framework that I want to. There was a, so this is what life was like when I upgraded, and oh, it wouldn't be that. So I upgraded and I'm like, it's not loading. So you can see my frustration that I went through. And I went to the cataloging SIG and they're like, I don't know, we don't use it. And then I felt like I went to the general meeting and they were like, we're not totally sure, try the system admin meeting. And that's when I went there and Andrew goes, yes, there's, I think there's a new enhancement. They didn't realize people were using it the way you were using it. And I'm like, so then what?
Is it because you're on your tests?
No, it's this, I have used this on, now whether or not it is to do with a bug.
They pushed an update.
But this is in 2011, it's already. So you have options when new cataloging, new records, because some people just wanted that. I'm trying to do when changing framework while editing the existing record. And then when editing, duplicating records and then importing Z3S. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay. Oh, that. Hold on. Nothing's there. This should be there. And it's not going in. That is really, really weird. So what I'm going to do is show you basically what it's supposed to do, and then not save it. All right. Was a book, and now I'm telling you it's not a CD. And it put it all in there, and it put all these extra things that I'm like, I would never remember to look all that up. And it put it at a 007, which is just the basic. So now I still have to put in if I actually knew what this stuff was or meant. I can put that in there. This is where you can tell a true cataloger from a practicing cataloger. Beginner. And I'm like, I know my librarians, like, they're never even gonna touch the 007. But I'm pretty sure if I want Koha to do more and more things, that needs to be there for fields. I'm wondering if your geo searching thing, if that's pulling, so there is one of the 000, one of these zeros is the geography field. If it's pulling from that, or if it's pulling from the location in the 008, or if it's pulling from the 260 or 264A.
You enter a latitude and longitude in the 034 field.
Okay, that's the geographic, that's the geo field.
Yeah.
So a lot of some Z30, the only ones we have of that in there is Z3950, and I used to delete them. And then I'm like, no, Lauren, you have an international consortium. That's probably actually helpful, but no one knows what it does, and no one's using it. You leave it there because things like the last search will come and do it. So that's how I wanted it to do. That makes my life so much easier if they can do that and go in. Now, the problem is they would still have to change the leader, but there's only a handful that's not the option. I was actually thinking it would be more than that, but it's not. All right, so we've done frameworks. Yes. So here are some examples of the like it's gonna be too hard to show you records. Because I was expecting everything to look like these first two, or have no dashes. And then I had these, and then sometimes even the ones with dashes, the dashes were in weird places. But I have traveled internationally enough to know that an African or Asian ISBN look funny because they're not Western. Like the location of, like, if you have a Canadian ISBN and an American ISBN, they look pretty similar. You start getting into Europe ISBNs sometimes look different than ours. So that is that aggressive match on ISBN. If you have,
They think you're.
I know they do. It works both ways, yes. So, and the reason this is still set to do because I haven't cleaned up our QA. I want it to, or do means look for all of it. Don't means it's fuzzy, right? To do attempt to match aggressively means they're all the same. Don't means they're fuzzy and they're weird and that's what they were before.
Do means that we'll take your ISBN, we'll search it in all the formats that we know are
Standard.
So
Okay.
we'll expand it out and we'll say search for this, search for this,
Okay.
search for this. Don't means just search it as it exists. Like we will use the exact ISBN we found in the record and search for that.
Okay. Okay, so the linking fields, so we had easy analytics, and I'm gonna have to see what is true on the QA. Okay, so and someone here could, if you could explain it to me. One of the things I don't know is all of the documentation says if you have easy analytics set to show, do not have show component records or use control number set to use. Evidently because I actually have, because I have some libraries that want to use easy analytics and some libraries that want to use control numbers. And so I had them both on at the same time, and our IT guys were like, no, you can't do that. All the documentation says it's bad. You shouldn't do that. And I'm like, but I want to. It's less work for me. That means I have to like change all my easy analytic records to use control numbers because I can't do it the other way. I don't know if this is possible, but the easy analytics only works for 773. Like how it works only functions for a 773 field. The show components, I'm kind of like, that sort of could work for any of the other fields, just show you all the different formats in the box. So what I mean by those is if you're looking for so this has easy analytics on. So I'm going to do a search. I'm going to cancel that and do not want something. I know this is one that uses. I'm pretty sure this is one. Yes, this uses easy analytics. So you'll note that Poplar Library is on these. Oh no, sorry, it's Vanilla Library. So Vanilla Library has resources for these titles. Because this one doesn't have one. Oh, I fixed it. Right. Okay, so I can't show you. So if I were to turn that off, Manila would not show up in the item because it really doesn't exist. Easy Analytics is putting that there. It's making that display. And it's also putting it on the parent record, which is here. And so it's showing up down here, and then I can click on it down here. My fun thing with Easy Analytics is it was really easy. It didn't matter if you were on the child record and used Easy Analytics because it would link both. The item would appear on both records and it would connect the two records. This record is supposed to look like that because the child records are in the parent, not the parent in the child. So that's the 773. So I'm giving you all a little bit of linking how that works. So that took me a while, like I had to manually do that. I'm slowly learning that I'm like, well, if I can put all those records in a list and then export by journal, I can now put all the control numbers in the 001, and I can now I can give them all the same 773. So I'm this is like my third or fourth journal doing it manually. I'm finally like, there is a way to do this by budget. This is great. One of the things that you'll also with Easy Analytics on, you get the show analytics and show volumes. Let's see if I can run this correctly. The analytics is based on what's in the 773 field. So if there's nothing there, it won't show up, which is why when I clicked on it, let me go back because I always forget which one I clicked on. Close. Okay. Because they're searching different things. So I only have one item that actually has a 773. But if I go to Easy Analytics also only work, the Analytics button also only works if you have Analytics. If you have that turned off, it will not show you. Show volumes gives you something different. And then on my slideshow, because I was like, what's it searching? I don't know why this doesn't tell you in 2211, but it does in 2105. If you click on the show analytics results, it's doing the host item, which is in your 773 of those records. So all of those 773s that are connected to that parent record show up. Because this one, they did it backwards, is why it's not working. And again, I've done easy analytics, so I totally get, like, it didn't matter. You didn't know what it was doing, so you didn't care. Until you wanted to improve it and make it better, and then you're like, oh man, why do we do it wrong? If you do show volumes, that's doing a title by phrase search, and that the title that is in the 490 has to match exactly the title in the 245. That's where that is cool. I have learned more about, like, how things are searched and put where. Now, what I don't know is we are on Zebra. So whether or not Elasticsearch would behave differently, I don't know. But I don't think so. I think that's a stand. I'm learning how MARC works and how it affects your OPAC. This has been a fun.
Could you show those parts again?
Show the what? All the part components? Okay. So, if you have show components on, if you have show components on, that's what the record will look like, except for, let me just show you. Let me turn this off. Because I don't know why they don't play so nice together, but they don't play nice together. It didn't affect me, but according to IT, it doesn't play nice. Okay. Now my fun thing is, I don't know if this is a record that has the fields corrected in different things. Oh, so it just has that one thing. Let me do you in the line real quick, because I don't have very many people all on our line of sight. So that would be easy because they're all getting ready for bed. There are advantages not to working in a different time zone. So I've got to turn use control off. Use control. Use control number. Please don't use credits. Okay. Because now it should work because they're cataloged for. Okay, so the show components record, you can still. And my analytics and show volumes will actually work for this one because it's cataloged correctly. So, and I don't really remember, so whatever I did, that's what it is. But components, if you use that one, you get it in this nice little list down here. Which I kind of wish the use control number, like I could use this one. Actually, I wish I could use all three at the same time. So that some of my libraries who just have the parent child could use that one, as long as I teach them, go to this record to link to host instead of, you can't use the child sometimes and the parent the other times. You need to consistency. Whatever you do, just be consistent. Even if you're consistently wrong, I can fix consistently wrong. Just be consistent. Okay, so I do need to turn this back because this is my website and none of my so if you have components on and Easy Analytics on, all of your linking fields that are not 773 will not work. Which is why we have it on. Because, whoops. There it is. Because I need all of those to work. I have a lot, well, have a growing number that have original language entry and translation entry. Or journals have a lot of supplemental issues, parent issues, and then why publishers do this, I do not know. But you know, a journal has a perfectly good name for like 3 years, and I guess they get a new director or something, and they say, yeah, let's change the name. And so then they change the name, well, what do you do? Like, because now the user all knows the old name or knows the new name and not the old name. All the joys of cataloging. So I need all of those to work. The one we have the most is the additional form entry. So I had to create we're still all right, is it down below? Yes, sir.
The computer ate it.
The computer ate it, yeah. There it is. Zoom is hiding it. So in your indicators, you have 0, 0, 8. And I've got to look it up because I cannot remember. What the second indicator is. So if you don't want it to display, you can put an 8. So that doesn't always work because I feel like we put the 0, 8 to display. But if you leave it blank, I added, this is what it would say. So if you use 776 and you say 0 blank, then it will start with translated as, and then we'll give the title. And then if you put something in the I, it'll say in whatever language. So an example of using that is this one. It's translated. So this book is translated in French and in Russian. And we've linked it here. So it makes it a lot easier for the users to find different translations. Again, we deal with multiple languages, so that's kind of helpful. Okay. All right, is there anything on the Koha side of things that people have questions with? I'm getting ready to go into my head. Everybody good? Okay. Everybody still awake?
There's an online question
Okay.
that I think I answered correctly. But Kendall said, can we limit the framework used by branch for like a consortium? And then he says, or do the frameworks affect the entire consortium? My response was frameworks affect the entire consortium in the R system, and that's correct, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I was 99% sure I was right.
Yeah, I can't remember if I heard somewhere that somebody found a way to limit it by branch. But most of it is everyone can use it.
I can create code in jQuery with any one of the frameworks to a specific branch.
That's probably-
But I don't have to do them for other members.
Yeah, most of mine that I'm creating, I want everybody to use it. So, okay. All right, now here's where I'm still learning how to do 2211 and things moved. I'm going to export my data. And I'm going to obviously, I'm going to select all. It's always a good name. Or something. Then I did change the name from the default. So if you have MarcEdit downloaded, when you've already downloaded it, I can double click it from there and it will open it for me. If you don't have MarcEdit downloaded, you need to download it. You can open it up from the main screen, but it's like 2 or 3 steps, and I like just double clicking and it gets into the screen. It's in MARC, so you can't edit MARC directly. You have to edit an MRK file instead of an MRC file. If you click in MarcEdit, you just click execute and then you click edit records. You now have your MARC records and you can now see what you need to do with it. So one of the wonderful, lovely tools of MarcEdit is the field count. This is where you can find that 47 records. So I should have 47,008, and I don't. And let's see. And my 999 should also be, those 3 numbers should be the same. The 999 is the bib number. The 0. So again, this is where I had to edit and do lovely things. They should also have the same number in your 245 because every record should have a title. I actually have some records that don't have titles. And that's a mandatory field now. It's like you have to put something in the title. I don't care what you put, it's gotta have something. This is my cat, that works. I need something in the title. All right, so in MarcEdit, to add a field. Yeah. So the 003 PLC. I want to add a field if not present. And then I click add field, and then it added it. So now everything has a 00. That probably has something that's empty. I don't know. Yeah. And then you save, and periodically I would do a save. Oops. I would always use the save as after I got a while. And then every time I did a save as, I would actually save it as, close it, and then open it up just to make sure that I was on the right file, because my computers sometimes do things too easily and I don't know what they just did. And so that's just easier. Let's see if this one has any 5 minutes. This one has 5 minutes. Just thought I remembered the library to do this. So not all my libraries, that was my easy one to show you of how to remove text in front of it. So one of the things you can see is the 336s aren't there. And I deleted all of them. And then I actually, for me, it was easier to delete them. And then come over here to my little cheat sheet and copy what I wanted to do and tell it to add that, just like I added the 003, I added 336. Because I wanted to double check and make sure that before I made all these one item type, they were actually that item type. Because I had yeah, weird things. So the thing that is really tricky is your title indicators. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm trying to find a way to share these, is I have something that's called clean the indicators. And then personally, I did save all that. No. Just so that I could like keep what it moved and what it didn't. So now all my 245 should be 00. Yay, okay. This is where it gets a little tricky, MarcEdit. This is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful feature that I learned, and it like does so many things. It's what you can do. Select. Oh yes. Hold on. It's saying I changed something. I probably should save it. It is correct. I probably should save it. I want to look at all of the ones that have all the fields. If I collect do not match, it finds all the ones that don't have anything there. But I want to change the indicator for the ones that do have authors. So I click invert selections, and now it has selected all of the records with something in the one in the field. So I now click export selected.
There it is.
You know what, I don't.
Oh, they came out.
There we go. So now, and to double check, so sometimes I would like, did it do what I told it to do? I will do a field scan to make sure that yes, no, it did, it exported what I wanted to export. So now I can tell the tools to edit the indicators in the 245 from 00 to 10. And now, and again, it's always a good idea to double check and make sure it did what you expected it to do. It did it. So now I close it. Oh, now I have to remember where I saved it. Here we go. And then you open it back up. And so now I have 245s that if it has a 100, it has there. So we'll do it again, just in case. So wait a minute. It's also always a good idea before you do select edit to record to find out how many records actually have the fields that you're using. Free advice. 110, so I think it was like 20. That's not much. Invert, export. And again, because my data isn't always correct, I made sure I did find a couple of them where it had 2 100 fields. Koha-US will not let you do that. It will, if you try to say that, it will say error, error. It doesn't like it. Because that's unless you change the framework and I'm like and tell it that it's repeatable, but it's not supposed to be repeatable. So I'm in the temp. So at the top, you will see TMP. That means I'm in that temp file. That means I'm working on the files that I pulled out. So now I'm gonna do it again. Indicator for the 245, 10, and now that's the one. I'm gonna double check. It's there. Okay. Now I'm going to show you. I'm not going to do the other 100s. I'm going to show you. This is the joy of managed tasks. So now, if I do 245 indicators, that's what it changed. But now everything that starts with the leading article have been changed. And so now I don't have to worry about that because I created new tasks. And you can share those and edit those. Those are wonderful things. And MarcEdit, it's worth, I thought we originally was gonna put the RDA in MarcEdit, and then I'm like, maybe once our records are all good and clean, and I wanted to import a batch of records that were all book and I want to turn them into CD, maybe having all of the RDA information in MarcEdit might be useful, because I think there are some libraries who do that. I had someone, doesn't always work, create me regex to move the leading article from the end to the beginning. And I don't know why it sometimes worked, because some of them I still have to do manually, but that's tasks. Okay. The other big one. So, I want to save because I changed something. No, not file yet. Select records. I want, yes. I'm like, do I want one? Does not match. Okay, and I actually want this time records that do not have a 001 because I want to give it the bib number, because for that use control number, and I think even for the component record, you have to have the bib number in the 001 for it to match. That's what it's matching. Computers like they like to be very literal. Okay, so now I come up here, I go to swap field data. My original data is in the 99C, and I want my modified data to be in the 001. And some of this I am saying out loud so that I can remember the steps of what to do. I want to copy the source because I want that number to stay in the 999 field, because I want to match that when I import it back in. There are no indicators in subfields, so I hit process. And the number down here matches the number up here. Now one thing you can do, the bad news is it only does one undo. So like if I had done a step after that, or I had hit save, too bad. You have to start over again, which is why you save frequently and often so that you don't start all the way through. You just start where that file. But I have done where I forgot to save, and I had done like, I was just on a roll and I was going great. And then I did something really stupid, and then I no. So that's and then you hit save. Oh wait. The fun thing is you can't hit the redo button until you accidentally hit the okay, close. Save. Okay, back up. The other big thing that is wonderful about MarcEdit, and you can get to it from two ways. You can go from the MARC validator there, or validate MARC records here. This group results by error is your friend. Check it. And so you can see I have some errors that I need to fix and clean up. In my thing, if I had not checked that, just so that you know, educational purposes, so you know what happens if I don't do that group results by error. It does it in order of the record. So I guess sometimes you might want to know this record has all of these problems with it, But it's a whole lot easier because you're going to be editing, batch editing by the field. So you would want the items grouped together. Oh, this looks like a new thing. I didn't realize, is this, those who use MarcEdit, is this like new from remove invalid records? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I just, okay, I learned something, because every now and then it will, you can't find what's wrong. And Koha will not always let you import it now if it's invalid. It depends on what's wrong with it. All right, questions on MarcEdit? Hopefully I didn't work, yes.
Microphone around. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I just thought a question, that a comment that the MRK file is just a plain text file. For some occasion, I want to look at all the records and mark it below each way. It's 200. So I just put the whole thing in either Notepad, or you can open it in Firefox. Let's say you want to look for every record that has not validated. Search Firefox not valid, everything will be displayed for you. You can put it in the Word if you have to.
You can also, so like in your records, if you want, if you wanted to look for a specific word, it will show you, and you can jump to the record. I have also sometimes in my files, on this page, it's on. Okay, sometimes you need to jump to a record. So it'll tell you a record number, but it won't give you a record name in that validation error results. And sometimes I had to use that to find it. And I just realized I need a record that doesn't have a 008 to show you what I did there. It's easier to just do it this way. Keep it in mode. They're too close to each other. Doesn't match, export to. There we go. MarcEdit allows you to create the mark. And now I created it. So what I did was just took that and told it to add a field in the 008. But you gotta make sure that you remove but from the beginning. And now it adds. Oh, I forgot to do if not present. So now I go back and add the one that I created. Okay. Sorry. Any more questions? Comments? I hope I didn't bore you. Hopefully this was something new. This was all the stuff I wish I had known when I started this project. Just to know, like, and I was just showing you like just a little bit of what MarcEdit can do. Like, that's just all I know how to do, and I've learned it does do something with duplicate records. I know that. I did it once. I do not remember what I did. So I can't do it again. But so it's like, okay.